Hi, I'm Joti. I'm 52 and I have rheumatoid arthritis. It feels like a really long time ago now, but when I first got diagnosed with RA, I had just had my baby. So I had just had my first son. And when I used to get up in the mornings and step onto the floor, my feet used to really hurt. And I didn't quite get why that was happening. It just got progressively worse. So I can't even remember. He was very, very small. And every single time I used to wake up, I used to feel it. If I had been sitting for a long time and then I got up during the day even, I would feel it. And I was thinking, this is really strange. So I went to the doctors and I spoke to them and I said, this is how I'm feeling. And I had actually had a really traumatic labour. So they said it's probably something to do with your hormones. Once your hormones settle down, you'll be okay. But by the time he was about 8 months old, my hands started hurting. I couldn't hold him down and I couldn't do his nappies. And I was like, this is really weird. And so I went back to the doctors and then they said, no, again, hormones, take some ibuprofen, calm down the pain and you'll be fine. This just carried on. Went back to the doctors and I said, there's got to be something wrong. I know there's something wrong with me. They sent me off for some blood tests. The actually blood tests came back and it was all normal. And so now this was very confusing. Why are my blood tests come back normal? By the time he was 18 months old, that's when the doctors actually listened to me, because by then I started getting deformities in my fingers. So although my blood test said there was no inflammation, there was deformities starting in my fingers. And that's when they listened to me and then sent me to a consultant. It was only when he was, for 18 months, I really did struggle. And it was only then that they started taking me seriously. It really absolutely affected my mental health. I didn't want to tell anybody in the family. My father had rheumatoid arthritis. So for me, I saw his journey, and what I didn't want is for me to, I felt like this is what's going to happen to me. I hid it from everybody. I hid the fact that I had rheumatoid arthritis because I didn't want anyone to look at my dad and say, oh, maybe because of you, she's inherited RA. I don't know about other communities, but the Asian community is very, very big on pointing fingers at others. I didn't want anyone to point a finger at my dad. Mentally, I hadn't even come to terms with it myself that I had it. I think you have to accept it before you're able to share it with other people. And it took me a long time to accept it. My pain was so intense. It started to really affect me mentally. It felt like I was going into some sort of depression, I guess. I had RA for 4.5 years before I told anybody. My husband knew, but apart from that, nobody else knew. And yet I am so incredibly close to my family. I didn't want my dad to feel guilty. I'm really, really close. I was really, really close to my dad. But when I actually started telling people, I told my parents and then I told my siblings, and then slowly I told other close family friends, they started helping me out so much. So over the years, I've done various different types of self-management. So I've had times where I used to do a lot of swimming. I used to swim a lot. I couldn't do more strenuous exercises. I found swimming really used to work because the water sort of helps you as well. For me personally, I can't say I stick to one thing all the time because it depends on how my body is at that time. Over the years, swimming has helped on the times that I can swim. I've also been to the gym and done some light weight-bearing exercises, and I did that for a while. The one I loved the most was hot yoga. I used to go hot yoga, but not do any strenuous classes, just do gentle classes, the yin yogas, and just more gentle classes. And that was brilliant because I felt that the heat of the temperature of the room would help me be a lot more flexible with my body and my joints. And I absolutely, by far, loved the hot yoga classes that I went to. I also have done in the past, done times when I'm really, I've had bad stages in my life. I've actually been across to India and went to Ayurvedic centres and done a lot of Ayurvedic treatments. But that involves a lot of massages and really sort of helps you heal from inside and out with their diet as well. So I've done a lot of things over the years at different times. I was introduced to NRAS through my consultant at the hospital, And when she mentioned NRAS to me, I reached out. I was in a lot of pain one day. And so I called the helpline and I spoke to a lovely lady. She listened to me and she sort of advised me, gave me some tips on, exercise and things like that. And I remember she really sort of calmed me down, because sometimes for myself, I get really worked up because I'm in so much pain and I know all the things that I need to be doing in that day that I can't do. And then I work myself up over it. So she was brilliant and she really calmed me down and she made me understand, to take it easy for myself. And that self-care sort of is so important. And after that, I started to reach out a little bit more. And then I met Elsa. We hit it off really well. Elsa was absolutely lovely, an absolute gem. And actually, the more I started working with NRAS, it made me feel better, because it made me feel like I'm giving back to other people and I can help them with my experiences. I'm actually really, really proud of what I've achieved despite the RA. It was because of the RA that I stopped working. That was the biggest change in my life. I had to rest to recover. I was in so much pain. But the biggest thing was that I started to become very down, depressed. I became a real introvert. I wouldn't go out because I felt like I couldn't do the things that I used to once do. I was really scared because I thought, that's it, my life is over and I have got nowhere to go. And my dad stepped in and my dad said to me, oh, don't get upset, make my website for me. And I was like, make your website, Dad. And I'm talking 22 years ago, when he didn't have a website at the time. And I started his website, just did a really small, easy, simple website for him. And what I didn't realize is what he was doing for me is putting my mind somewhere else. So I wasn't focusing on my pain. So he was my savior. I always say that. And he had been through so much with his own life that he knew what I was going through. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Because he had gone through so much in his life with the RA, who knew what I was going through. And so he came in and he said to me, look, start a website for me and start doing that. And so I said, okay, Dad, okay, I'll do that. And actually what happened was my medication had changed. They had started me on different medication, but it takes time for it to kick in. It took a few months for that to happen. So as my pain started getting under control and my pain started coming down, I started doing his website and I started doing more and more work for him. I was just doing it as helping him out. I wasn't doing it for money. I was just doing it to help him out. And for me to put my mind somewhere else rather than the condition, the inquiries started coming in. And as inquiries started coming in, I used to say, Dad, the inquiries come in and this is what they've said. And he'd say, well, answer it then. And I'd go, all right then. And so I'd answer it. And we manufacture soft furnishings. So I was like, okay. But what I didn't realize is my parents they've had the factory for 35 years. So I was running around a factory since I was tiny. And what I didn't realize is I had absorbed so much just running around a factory that actually when I came to this stage and I was answering questions, I was like, oh, I know that. And I said, Dad, this is what I've answered to this question. He says, well, yeah, that's right. And I was like, oh, I actually know it. My mind was more focused on the work than the RA. And it totally flipped, like my life totally flipped. I completely started loving what I was doing. And because I was loving what I was doing, I was flourishing what I was doing, but I was working at my own pace. So we manufacture soft furnishings and we do lots of different things. So we do homeware, we do pet products, we do seating, we do curtains, throws, loads of things. And then my mum said to me, you do so much work for so many people and you've got so many people off the ground. Why don't you do something for yourself as well? You've got to do something for yourself. So then I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? And I had all of the things that we manufacture I love soft furnishings the most. That is like my sort of passion. I love cushions, I love throws, I love making homes beautiful. And for me, when I was in my worst time, the home was around me all the time. And I just felt like, if you are happy in your home, then you are comfortable in your home, then that would make you, feel better about yourself. That was what I was drawn to. And so I started my business. It's called Asrana, and the AS are actually my dad's initials, because I wanted to do something in his honor. But also, when he started his business, he used to make duvets and pillows, and that's where that business started. Although we developed into doing everything that we do now. And so I've had loads of people over the years. I mean, considering I was 27 when I was diagnosed, 28 when I was diagnosed, but I've had it since I was 27. So I have had people look at me and say, "You don't look like the person who has RA." And I'll say, "What does a person that has RA look like?" I have people who say, "Arthritis happens to people who are older. You're so young." And I get that all the time. "You're so young." And I'll say, "Yeah, but I do have it." Being South Asian and having it has been a big thing for me, definitely. I mean, the reason I didn't tell anybody for 4 years was because I was South Asian. I feel being South Asian, I didn't tell anybody because a lot of people say, "Oh God, because it's happened to you because of your father." But actually, it could have happened to me despite the fact he had it or he didn't have it. And I've made sure that I can do everything that I need to do. And if not, I adapt. If I need to get help, I'll ask for help. But I do manage to do absolutely everything. And people are gobsmacked in the family that I actually maintain the relationships I have because of how I entertain and how I help others and how much I help out for people rather than shy away, definitely. I'm here today to stop the stereotype around rheumatoid arthritis. Find out more at nras.org.uk.